Imagine if that head trash was not there. Who would you be? What if I told you those fears were no longer a problem? What would you do? I'm Stephanie Costello, a mom of 3, wife, and avid mountaineer. Beyond all of these, I am very much like you, an average person trying to navigate this thing we call life. My goal with this podcast is to bring to light the truth about what intimacy really is. You may smile, feel called out, or learn something new. Either way, you will learn you are in control. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing to you Gianpiero, who is a husband, a father, a friend, and a person who wants to be of value to others by means of genuine conversation or simply by empathic listening. He believes that conversations can be powerful and even instrumental for alleviating pain and trauma. Gianpiero was born in Peru and was raised in both Peru and Los Angeles, California. He served in the U.S. Army for 3 years and served a combat tour in Afghanistan. He's lived through happy and fulfilling experiences in his life and through painful and traumatic ones too. He was diagnosed with PTSD a few years ago after his combat experience. Today, he loves being that listening ear for anyone who gives him the opportunity to listen to them as they share their unique life story. All right. Welcome back to the Intimacy Truth Podcast, where we have our co-host today, Gianpiero.
Hello, everyone. It's nice to be back.
I'm so happy to have you here, and we are going to be completing our conversation about the cycle of flow today. I'm super excited to be getting to this point because I know when there's this process out there and all this information, it's like, I need to know what's the thing. And so if you are a high-level entrepreneur or a high-level thinker, and a high-level thinker for me is just somebody who always has these really great thoughts and always has this process in their head that they want to share with the world. If that sounds like you and you struggle with being in your own state of flow, you're in the right place with two of the, I'm going to call myself amazing because I am, and so are you, Gianpiero, but two amazing people who love to share all the insights that we get from our day-to-day activities. So, ready to get started?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, so the last day of, or the last cycle, stage of the cycle is recovery. And I know as soon as I said that, some of the listeners are probably like, ugh, recovery? Who has time for that? Why would I want to take time to sit out and just be and think and sit there with my thumb up my butt, what some people might be thinking. So what are your thoughts on that, Gianpiero?
Well, I love how it's called recovery because we cannot stay in high, what do you call it?
States of flow.
Right. But what I was trying to remember is, okay, so high performance, that's the word, the phrase. Yeah. That is a phase. And then at some point, if we stay there, and I see it with a lot of people who are highly successful, very accomplished, you have to remember to rest. I mean, just the same throughout your day, you work, and at some point you have to remember, enough. Now I need to pull back and regroup and rest, because otherwise you risk the possibility of burnout. And we want to avoid that. And that's why recovery is very important, taking care of all those elements that you need to take care of so you can continue to perform at high levels over a long period of time.
Right.
And if we don't do that, then we risk the burnout point.
We risk that, right? Exactly. So 2 things here. If you're like, well, I'm not a high level, thinker or earner or anything like that. You are if you say you are. You are if you think you are. So if you're like, oh, I just work, I don't know, at Market Basket, you can be as high level and a high earner at Market Basket if you want to be. If that's where your passion lies, don't compare your passion to somebody else's passion. So please be proud of yourself for any of your accomplishments, no matter what your experience has been in life. Don't compare to others. And 2, your stress, if you try to stay in that state of flow, which we all are addicted to because it's got a lot of good hormones there, right? A lot of good happy juices that get flowing. Eventually, those happy juices run out and it turns into bad juices.
and it turns into stress, bad stress on your body. And I think we talked about that in the last couple of episodes. There's good stress and there's bad stress, and that state of flow is good stress. But when we become addicted to it and we rely on it too much, and we don't give ourselves the opportunity to recover, it becomes bad stress. And that's where our body starts to weaken internally. Our cells start to weaken, our immune system starts to weaken, because we're not doing what we need to do to care for our own body. Just like a car, if you don't put gas in it, if you don't put oil in it, if you don't do all the not the updates, but the
tune-ups
yeah, if you're doing all the thing you need to do with the tune-up, then your car's going to fail and you're not going to be able to get from point A to point B. Your body is the same exact way.
Yes.
In the book that we've been referencing, Unleash the Peak Performer Within You by Steve Adams, who is the owner of Tiger Performance Institute, if you're interested in learning more about that high performance mentality, he has some suggestions for recovery, and I think it would be really awesome for us to touch upon them in our conversation. So I'll just read off a couple and then we'll chat more about it. So build mini recovery breaks into your daily schedule. That is huge. I have some points about that I had to do for myself. Get 8 hours of sleep each night. Drink the recommended water each day. Do some movement every day. And get outside, which is huge. Getting into nature. I'm really passionate about that, so I'm happy to talk more about that too. And visualize and review what you did in flow and appreciate it with gratitude. Huge piece that we will absolutely add more to on that in a few minutes. Gianpiero, is there anything you would like to add?
One thought that came to mind was, like, I used to run marathons. And even if you're training and you're a good runner and you're doing your diet, you're drinking your water, all those things, if you run long term, your body is going to produce lactic acid, and that causes pain. So you also need to know when to pull back. And we often forget when to pull back and take care of ourselves. In my own personal life, I call it me time. There are times when I need me time. I love my wife, I love my kids, I love my friends, but sometimes I need to pull back, recharge, regroup. And I think that's part of the whole recovery phase.
Yes, and I think that the mini recovery breaks throughout the day. For me, when I first started this whole virtual stuff back in COVID, I was doing hour-long meetings every single. So it's like leave one, go to another, leave one, go to another, like end at one meeting and start another one. There was no getting up for water anymore. There was no driving around to have that downtime to go from meeting to meeting or whatever else it was. There was no tea or coffee shop to provide the service, the recovery things that we need for our brain to be able to function. And so I had to change my meetings from 1 hour long meetings to 45-minute meetings. And that really has been huge. It gave me 15 minutes to get up away from the desk, go walk in the garden if I needed to, or walk around outside, or say hi to my kids or my husband. It gave me the opportunity to not just be all about the grind, because then I would get up from my desk and just go to bed and do the same thing the next day, take care of the kids and have no me time. So now I take 3 days off a week. Like, my schedule is very specific to what I want it to be rather than what I felt I had it to be, which is leading me right to burnout.
Yes. One of the things that I just remember in the book, Mr. Steve Adams, he was by all measurements successful, but even he realized that he was not performing. He was not where he needed to be. So he had to take a sabbatical, basically sell his portion of the business and just take some time off. And this is where the Tiger Institute was born, from him being able to pull back, regroup, and do the things that made him feel fulfilled, even though by all measurements from the outside world, people were like, you're crazy, you're successful, you're happy, you get to travel, people want to hear what you have to say. What's wrong with you? And deep inside, he knew, I need to take care of myself.
So true. I wanted to go back to getting outside. I feel like everyone talks about drinking the water, sleeping, and doing your exercise. We all know those are things that we need to do. Whether we commit to them is a whole different ballgame. And I'm really passionate about people understanding how, you are your best, no one's going to do it for you but you. So if you know you need to do it, and you're making it, you're sacrificing it for these other opportunities in your life, then the more you take at it, the more drips you drop into, or the more you withdraw from your bank, I should say, the more you withdraw from your bank, the more negative it's going to be if you're not filling it back up. So
absolutely. And we can end up in a place where we feel ourselves bankrupt because we
Yeah.
haven't made the proper deposits for our own well-being.
Yeah, exactly. I love this. I love talking with you. All right, getting outside. I'm an avid hiker. I love, love, love getting outside. Actually, after you were just talking about your marathons and that lactic acid, I probably have a decent amount because I went pretty hard this weekend, so I'm super sore. But I can think about, so for example, yesterday when I started, it was probably 10:30, super cloudy, couldn't see anything, fog, the whole 9 yards, from the bottom all the way pretty much to the top. The sun was kind of peeking through here and there. And then on the way down, all of it just started to fade. And it was crystal clear. The sun was shining out and coming down the trail. And I get to the end, and I actually recorded 2 videos of where I started and where I ended. Lonesome Lake in I think it's in Lincoln, across from Lafayette. The Mountain Lafayette underneath Cannon. But so Lonesome Lake, you couldn't see anything. All you could see was the waterfall from it. And then you could see this beautiful scenery at the end. And so nature has so much to provide to us in a way. Like, to me, how fascinating that the clouds just form, right? Or the birds just fly. When I watch a bird fly around, I'm just so utterly fascinated by just the fact that they can do that. And that's their superpower, is being able to fly, so freely throughout the sky. So my point being, nature has a lot to offer. And if you spend your time in traffic all day long, or in a big city with big buildings and not a lot of nature, and you're kind of in the hustle and bustle of society's to-dos, where we have to be a good member of society, and you're not breaking yourself out of those habits, you're diminishing your humanity.
Yes. And some of those habits are great and wonderful. I can see it from the perspective of a husband, a parent. I can devote my life to make others happy. Mm-hmm. But if I'm not taking care of myself, eventually I'm going to run of goodness to give back to the people I care about.
So true. So true. And then the last piece, visualize and review what you did in flow and appreciate it with gratitude. Like, that is huge, right? Don't, I got my bonus, so now I appreciate all my hard work for the last year, so I'm going to go blow my bonus on, I don't know, a vacation or something. Yes, that's exciting. You want to celebrate those moments. You want to have that fun to celebrate all your hard work, but don't wait until the end to celebrate, because your body is just going to get used to all this stress. And then you're going to give it that 1 week of recovery, but that 1 week, or however long you take a vacation for, is only going to help you recover very minutely, because you've had so many withdrawals from the bank. So You're already in bankruptcy. So when you're putting that 1 week in there, it's not going to get you out of bankruptcy for the many of weeks that you've kind of been withdrawing from your bank, your energetic bank.
Yes, one of the things that comes to mind is identity. Sometimes, because we have all these successes, we make that our identity. So we must continue to perform at that level. And we forget that there's a cycle. There's like stages to be able to be there. And we forget how we got there in the first place. And it was from all the different stages that we've been talking about to the point where we perform, we're awesome, we're great, people love us, people want to be like us sometimes. And then we just want to keep going. And it's like, no, take back. My camera just disappeared. I'm sorry.
You're here. No worries.
All right, good. And we forget that there is a process. There are stages, and we need to take care of ourselves if we want to continue to perform at that level.
Yeah. And can we use your example we were talking about before?
Absolutely. Like, as I was getting ready to come into the call, I was feeling anxious. All this energy building up, and I was feeling, oh, am I freaking out? What did I do wrong? Why am I not ready? And I am ready, but the brain and the body sending all these signals, information to help me prepare.
Right.
And I have to remember that's all part of the cycle.
You were in the state of struggle for a minute,
yes.
right?
Oh,
and then we started the call and it was like, oh, okay, right. This is going to be fun. This release came.
Mm-hmm. And talking to you allowed me to have that release, to be able to articulate that I'm feeling this emotions right now, these feelings all throughout my body. And you're like, you reminded me, okay, that's part of the whole cycle. And it's like, in fact, it's not a bad thing, it's a good thing. Mm-hmm. And here we are, and I'm talking to you, and
your body got prepared to have the conversation, and then you went into that state of flow where we actually, this has been a really wonderful flowing conversation. And sometimes it can be hard. It'd be like, oh, what do we want to talk about? Oh, what's the next point? And it's like, oh, what am I supposed to say? And so sometimes there can be that feeling of like struggle in the state of flow. But then when you let go of those stress hormones, those fears that we're not performing correctly, then you get into that state of flow again, and at the end we'll have our own level of recovery. But I want to go actually to that piece about if you do get stuck in a state of struggle when you did already start your state of flow, breathing is really helpful. Like, you always have your breath, right? But also you're trying something new. Recording and talking and being on a podcast and being vocal in a social way is something new. And so the more we try these new things, the more we give ourselves the opportunity to practice our states of flow. Every time we have something new that we're trying, the state of struggle is going to be a lot harder, a lot bigger than the state of flow, right? But after a while, so I've been recording a year and a half now, I think. I've been doing the podcast. And so now for me, it's just like, all right, we're having a cool conversation, and I forget recording, and I don't really worry about anything once the conversation gets started. So it's interesting to be able to see your version of the newer state of flow and mine where I've practiced enough.
You know what? And you're right. As I go back and I listen to your older podcasts, and I hear you now, I see your sophistication. I see how you've gotten better, and it's just like, I'm like, yes, okay. I just need to continue to strive, and I will get smoother and smoother. And you cannot avoid that. It's there is no bypass to that.
No, there isn't. And I love the way you just said that. There is no bypass through it. The bypass is avoiding it. And if you avoid it, then you're not going to accomplish it. So don't keep avoiding, right?
Yes. There's a movie that I watched a long time ago in the 90s called Point Break. It was about surfers. And Bodhi, one of the main characters, he tells Keanu Reeves, who's learning how to surf, he said, hesitation will cause your worst nightmares to come true. And oftentimes when we're about to do something new, all these feelings they show up. And the moment we begin to hesitate and focus, it's like, I'm not prepared, I'm not ready, people are going to criticize me, people are going to not like how I show up, then all your nightmares will show up, and they'll become true, as opposed to, this is part of the process. I need to step in, take one step at a time, keep going forward. And that's how you learn anything.
Right. Don't try to eat the whole elephant all at once.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. This has been awesome. This has been an awesome 4 days of recording. I really look forward to being able to share this with the world. And then we'll definitely have to pick another topic where we can do this again.
Absolutely. I think I believe, and I've learned this from different people that I read or listen to. It's that now the thought just came in and left, but you have to put yourself out there and be yourself at the edge of failure, because that's where the learning happens. And there's one thing that I wish I would have been taught growing up, was that, Gianpiero, you are going to fail, and it's going to happen a lot, but this is the only way that you're going to be able to transcend the person you are right now and become who you wish you could become, through trying and failure and moving forward and learning from all those experiences.
Absolutely. And my version of that is, your failing doesn't have to be miserable, though. right? Pain is inevitable. Suffering is an option. Failing is part of life. So if you accept it, and I don't even know if like failing is really the right way to say it, but you're going to have moments where you're not going to be 100%. Nobody can always be 100% at every single moment. And so if you're not 100%, doesn't mean you didn't fail. It doesn't mean you failed, just means you weren't 100% your best. And so make sure that when you're not 100% your best, you look at it with gratitude, right? And you appreciate the hard work that you did put into it. And then you figure out what steps do I need to make what steps do I need to take moving forward so that I can shift my approach so I can get to that 100%. And if you fall off, if you fall back from 100% to 80%, you didn't actually fall back. It's because you got to the goal you wanted and then you added a new goal. So now you have another so much percentage to go to get to that new goal and whatever else it might be. So it's a never-ending process.
Yes, and there's this quote that I heard that if there is no striving, there's no positive emotion. We need to put ourselves out there, exposed, kind of like heart open, and that's where the magic happens.
So true. All right. Thank you for sharing. And how can people reach out if they have any questions for you? How can they find you?
Okay. My email, giampiero@scatolon.com, GIAMPIERO@SCATTOLON.com. That's my name, Giampiero Scatolon.
And then Giampiero Scatolon, if they would like to find you on Facebook or Instagram. Yeah, awesome.
Yes, I am in Instagram too. Just type my name and you'll find me.
Yay, love it. Thank you for being here.
Thank you all.